So which covers that what is your current current state, and where you want, what is your potential, and how to fill that gap. So I covered a few skills like with by with the help of assess your current life and do some intermediate range goals, set goals, and dream big for your life. And we also cover the mindset behind the physical. Once we do this and reach out, it will take a toll on you, and you will reach your potential. But you will have to sacrifice a lot of your time or energy and many of your life areas to achieve this potential of your life. So for that, so you will be really stretched. Now the law of trade-off answers how to make that easy. So the law of trade-off says that you have to give up to grow up. That's the law of trade-off. So if you want to, if you are adding something to your list, you need to deduct something so that you are not fully stretched. There is some bandwidth for you to grow up and smoothly take that path, because it will be a long journey and it needs to be balanced out. Something, if something is plus, there must be something which should be minus. Okay. Now, but what is the, why we need to do this? So what is the mindset behind it? So we can acronym it as EMATS. So everybody makes trade-off throughout their life, whether they know it or not. Unsuccessful people also make it, but they make bad trade-offs. Average people make it, but they make only few trade-offs. Successful people are smart enough to make good trade-offs. What M stands for? M is most trade-offs can be made at any point of time. For example, if someone has having a bad habit like smoking, he can quit at any point of time. It, so it is independence of time. A few trade-offs come only once. For example, if you are scheduled to meet a big person, if you miss that, it is an opportunity of lifetime. So few trade-offs come only once. Don't miss them. Trade-offs. Fourth is T is for trade-offs never leave you at the same stage. Once you make a trade-off, you will be a different version from yourself, from your last state. And the higher you, next H is for the higher you climb, tougher are the trade-offs. For example, whenever think that you are climbing from an individual contributor to a team leader to a project manager, so the more you grow up, it will be tough for you to make trade-offs because there are added responsibilities on you. So start early doing the trade-offs in your life. Next is, let me share my screen again. Some trade-offs are never worth the price. For example, given your family and career, you should not trade off your family time for your career. So that is the myth. And what are the skill sets to make trade-offs? There is an acronym called 5G. Give up your financial security today for a potential tomorrow. Give up your immediate gratification for personal growth. Give up fast life for a good life. What is a good life? Good life is living in the place you belong, with the people you love, doing the right work on purpose. Give up security for significance and give up addition for multiplication. So now how to apply? I need to conclude it. Consider what you might need to do to reach your potential and what you need to trade or to give it up to get it. Okay. And think through the things that are non-negotiable in your life. You should not trade those. So keep this in mind, and for sure you will have a balanced approach and reach your potential. Thank you.
Wonderful, Girjarji. So I think Girjarji is covering from the book 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth by John Maxwell. I think this was one of the very good trade-offs, law of trade-off. And it mainly says you cannot get everything you want. You need to give up something to get something, right? So thank you so much, Girjarji, for sharing.
So hello everyone, good evening. Wish you all a very happy new year. First thing is because when we start New Year's, we all want to do something very different, very nice, and we all want to start it nice. And today I'll be talking about a very interesting topic because I personally like the topic, and while I was reading, I was able to make a lot of points out of it. And have you ever known that people can actually speak without a sound? Did you even know that? But yes, we all do that, right? We judge someone from, seeing someone's expression, or we actually speak and read people's minds. And we've all done that, and we still do it, based on their expressions and based on the way they behave. We try to say what kind of a person he or she is. So I'm going to talk about making attitudes our allies from this book, Magic of Thinking Big. And here, because attitude is like it's our own voice tone. It's like a reflection. It's a mirror of our mind, of what we think. And if you see, when we talk to kids, we don't talk like how I talk to an elderly person with all the seriousness. I actually go down to them, talk to them like a kid, and because that's when they will be able to read the phony for us. And here, the most important thing is attitudes. With these kind of attitudes, you can achieve everything you want to do. And I'll be talking about 3 attitudes, out of which I will be taking one today, which is grow the attitude of I am activated. So what does that mean? If I want to spread that activeness and the enthusiasm around me, I need to be activated first. So for example, back in school, we have all had this one subject which we found so boring half the time, because the teacher was boring or the lecturer was boring, or they did not have an energy to say or make it interesting. So if we are enthusiastic, only then the crowd, or you will even have enthusiastic followers. So for example, if we started this book club with like, okay, hi, how are you, thank you, welcome. No, we didn't start like that. We started with a lot of joy, started with a lot of energy. So if we keep that energy and enthusiasm, it keeps going, it actually leads you into a good crowd. So results are actually directly proportionate to your enthusiasm. So keep this law in mind, keeping all your science behind. So to improve this enthusiasm, there are 3 steps. And to keep yourself activated, there are three steps. The step number 1 is dig into it deeper. So there are so many things that we are not enthusiastic or are not interested about, but we need to do it. Say, for example, moving into a different team in an office. We all have that. We're so comfortable in one team, and when we are trying to move into the other team, we are not okay, because we don't know so many of the concepts that the other team is actually working upon. So it's very important to dig into a concept deeper. In my case, I was a total craft person since childhood, and drawing and painting was way far for me. Today, when I have learned the different types of brushes, different types of paints, different types of colors, I've actually, built a lot of interest in painting. And to be frank, I have done some stuff that I'm really proud of. That is the first one. The second one is, in everything you do, life it up. That means add life to everything that you speak or you do. That is the second attitude that we need to carry, because we all are so used to plastic smiles in corporate. We don't get to see people's teeth. So it's okay. You can still show your teeth and make it, like that life. People should think that, okay, this guy is actually alive. And, making this a habit is actually, coloring your words. That's what the phrase the author has used. And I really like this. So when you put life into your talk, there is more life in you. So people will know that you're alive, and they'll have a joy in joining you. And the third one is broadcast good news. We're so used to being listening to negative, things, and especially with the current situation, pandemic, everyone's like, okay, we are only listening negative. It's okay. You can still recall, think about old stuff, think about something that keeps you happy, and share that news with your family, with your friends, with your colleagues. Because now that we're virtually, connected, we can be more happy. And good news, there's also a fun fact: good news will also improve good digestion for you. So keep spreading some good news. And also, I wanted to add one quote saying that, with the right attitude, your abilities will increase the effectiveness, and good results are inevitability to follow. So there is no choice other than, for success to follow you if your attitude is right, because the attitude you carry will become your biggest army, your biggest strength to achieve everything you want to do. So yeah, that's what I wanted to add.
Wonderful sharing, Sana. So I didn't know that it improves digestion. I mean, it was something new. At least to improve digestion, we have to give good news and keep smiling. Thank you so much for covering. I think Charanjit has raised hand. Charanjit, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, Karthik, I'll go next. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the book club. Today, my topic is from a book named "Get Smart" by Brian Tracy. So, the chapter that I've read is just amazing and was eye-opening for me. This is the chapter name is uh, "Fast and Slow Thinking." So, guys, I think most of us have experienced sometime in the life that where we feel that okay, I wish I could have I could have thought before doing that, and that would have given me the different result, right? Uh, yeah. So this chapter talks about how important and significant the thinking before executing anything. You must think about that thing. So I'll just give the example. When most of us most of us has the habit of we operate in a react and response mode, where we don't give a gap when we react and when we give the response. You might have heard somewhere that okay, parents usually say that when you are angry, just count till 10. Why they are saying this? Because when you give it time, when you take a pause, your response for that particular situation would be different, which you would have given in a negative way if you could have reacted immediately, if you have responded immediately, right? So, so do you think then just saying that people will start falling and thinking is a very easy thing? No, this is the world toughest thing, I would say, and author has also mentioned about the same in a book that key, and even Thomson Edison said once that key, the hardest thing is the thinking, and people try to avoid this at any cost that they can do. And so don't we have a solution? Yes, we have a solution. So there are two ways that we can think based on the situation that you are into and where you have to take a decision. There is a one is a slow thinking and the another one is a fast thinking. So you might have experienced that when we drive, okay, in a busy traffic, we react and respond immediately. If you have to take over a car, you will not think for 2 minutes. Okay, I have to take over this car, right? You will take action immediately, right? But when it comes to your life, if I have to say, you have to take important decisions like uh, what business that you want to start, uh, what life partner you need to get married to, what is the career path that you want to go to, right? So we need a deep and slow thinking over there. So there are solutions where you can segregate and you can conclude that whether I should go for a fast thinking or whether I should go for a slow thinking. So whenever you are in any situation, just analyze yourself that whether this situation requires a slow thinking or it requires a fast thinking. Okay, as I give the example of the career path that you have to took, that you have to take, or the partner that you want to get married to. Okay, so the another thing is apply a 72 hours rules. Wherever you have to take a long term, wherever you have to take a decisions which will impact you in a long run, you have to give a time of at least three days to think about that. Okay, then you will able to conclude and you will able to consider all the facts so that you can visualize the consequences that you are going to get by taking that decision. The third one is the write down the details. Okay, the author has mentioned that there is an amazing connection between what you think and what you write. And when I say write, it doesn't mean you are typing it. You have to it should be handwritten, because then you are writing each and every fact to fact. Then you will have a clear picture what are the points that you have to consider before taking any action. The third one is the practice solitude. What does it mean? Solitude means where you give yourself at least 30 to 60 minutes, well, there is a no disturbance. You are only you are present there. There shouldn't be even music. There shouldn't be anything. Just find a place, whether in your room or any park or near to the river. It's up to you. But I think most of us have failed to do this thing, and most of us have never done this practice. That key, they would have sit for at least 30 to 60 minutes, and they would have thought, okay, what they could do and where their life is going. But you will be amazed with the results when you will sit in a solitude, that you will find the solutions of the problem that you are struggling with, maybe for a weeks or for a months or for a years. This reminds me the learnings of Vijay sessions as well. Vijay had also mentioned in one of his session that it is really important that you are giving time to yourself for thinking. We have occupied ourselves in this busy time that okay, we don't have a time for ourselves. But guys, you have to think again, and you have to start doing it if you are not doing it. So, but does it so will it happen immediately, or you will see the results and you will able to get the success in that? No, it requires a discipline. You will see when you start doing this solitude practice, you will find it difficult for at least 20 to 25 minutes initially. But if you will able to hold your nerve, the results that you will get and the life that you can change, you will be amazed. So these are the practices, and these are the solutions, and I would say the principles that you can follow before taking any decision in your career, in your life, whether it's your personal and your professional, anyway. So that's all from my side. I think this will add value to the listener who are listening to me. Thank you guys for listening to me.
Thank you so much, Charanjit.
Hello, all. A very good evening to everyone. My topic is new discoveries from the book called What to Say When You Talk to Yourself. Nowadays, we are very much attached to personal computers, laptops, and mobiles. But if you carefully observe our human body itself a computer, we can call it as a biocomputer. As you all know, the computer, so-called personal computer, will have three parts: CPU, keyboard, and monitor. Monitor, where it will show the information processed. It will show some videos. We can compare with our appearance and actions. And keyboard, we can compare with our five senses: the vision, the smell, the hearing, touch, and taste. With these senses as input by keyboard, the information will be programmed to our brain. And third one, CPU, we can call it as our human brain, where these information will be processed. The CPU is pre-programmed by some coders and it's permanent, whereas our CPU, nothing but brain, it is programmed by your parents, your friends, and the society. And they decide what you have to do, what you should not. And they decide what you are good at and what you are not. And they decide what you can do and what you can't. As a child, it is important to listen for survival. But as an adult, it's up to you. These thoughts are very strong. You can't change until you decide to change. But if you could accomplish that change, you can decide what you want to do, what you don't want to do. You can decide what you are good at, what you're not, and you can decide what you can do, what you can't. Thank you so much.
Good evening, everyone. So today I will be speaking about what is leadership. But before I speak about that, I would like to share some personal experience with you. So I remember the time was before lockdown, and my lead was going on a vacation, and he appointed me as a contact person. But I observed that many of my team members were not happy with that decision, and they were willing to go to another person for any queries and any doubt solution. So I analyzed what might be the problems, and I came to know about two possible points. One was like I am a front end developer, and my entire team is working in backend. So they might be thinking that I will not be able to solve their queries, or there are chances that they are not comfortable with me, or they are not connected with me. That's why they were not willing to come to me for any discussion. So I was not known to the actual reason. So I analyzed my past behavior, my communication with them, and I came to a conclusion that I need to develop a good rapport with them first. So I tried connecting with them frequently, and after 1 or 2 months, we had a good professional relation. So when second time this same scenario happened, like my lead was again on a leave. At this time, he had not appointed me as a contact person, but my team were willingly coming to me for their doubt solutions and their query solutions. So I came to know the problem was not about my backend knowledge or something like that, but the problem was the attitude and the connection. So here I want to share some key points which I read from the book Develop the Leader Within You. First is uh, you don't need to wait for any leadership opportunity, because there are cases that all of a sudden you are getting a chance, but you don't have a skill, or you don't have any time to develop that leadership skill. So try to develop that skill today, so that whenever opportunity comes to you, you can get maximum out of it. Second thing, leadership is not about position. It's not all about position. uh, it's all about how you influence people. So if people are ready to follow, they like to follow, then they will listen to you. There are chances that you do have position, but people don't like you or don't like to follow you, then they will not listen to you. And there are also chances that you don't have position, but people like to follow you, or they can rely on you, then they will follow you. So leadership is all about how you influence people, or how people rely to you. And one last thing, I read it from the book, and I like that line very much, that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So the first step towards leadership is try to connect with people and try to show that you care for them. That's all from my side.
Wonderful sharing, Uma. Actually, it was you started very nicely with the testimony. Even I have experienced the same testimony. I was very good technically, so I was never caring for people. Then after reading this, I also realized that people don't care how much you know until you know how much you care. Very nice sharing, Uma. Thank you so much. Arun, you want to go ahead?
Yes, Karthik, I will go now. Thanks. Hi, all. Good evening. So, wish you all a very happy new year, and welcome to today's book club. So, today I'm going to speak about this wonderful book called Rich Dad Poor Dad. And so, my learnings from this book has been from the chapter one. Does becoming rich, or having good money, will that solve problem, or is that sufficient, right? So in this book, there are two characters by name Mike and Robert. So they are kids. So basically, they have they want to know the idea of how to make money. They really creative, and they want to become rich. So they both discuss, and so Robert and Mike. So Mike's dad is a businessman. So they both go and approach Mike's dad to seek help and understand how they can, make money. What are the ideas of making different sources of money? So Mike and Robert have they both decide and go and meet Mike's dad, and so they meet the huge person, and they start the discussion. So Mike's dad says that he starts off saying that I'm going to give you an offer with a job, and these both the kids are quite excited, saying that yes, we are ready. And he says, I'm going to offer you 10 cents an hour for this job. So Robert feels 10 cents an hour. So he feels, okay, let me just first take it up and see how it works. But after some days, he feels really disappointed, saying that I work so hard, and is this the amount I'm really worth it? I am not happy with this amount. Whatever I'm getting it. So he feels disappointed. It's because that's because he's looking more of the money. So he starts looking. His greed increases. So which is what happens with most of them who are working in the corporate. Like, we start with the job, and we get a salary, and so what happens is eventually the greed and our desires increase, and we start looking at moving to a different job. We start becoming job hoppers uh, in aspiration of maybe I'll get 20-30% hike, but very less that we know that situation like this, the COVID comes up and slashes everything. So this is really an alarming situation where I know there are jobs, but it's not so the situation is not so green, because I'm from a HR background. So earlier, per annum, as a good hike, people used to get around 15, 20, 25%. But now the market, people are talking about 7%, and the best performer can get around 9%. So just imagine, if best performer can get around 9%, the average can be around 4 or 5%. So the point I'm trying to drive here is, if the disappointment is more towards amount, the money, which it does not satisfy me in this job, then what am I going to focus on, right? So will have a I'm getting a job with around 40 or 50% hike, and I'm not loving the job. It's not with my passion. Then definitely, still the question mark will be that what is going to be the next thing. And I always have a dream that I want to spend more time with my family, my two little kids, and my friends. And I want to have a lot of time for myself, going to gym every day and spend a lot of time on my health. But can I do all these things with having an ambition of, I want to get a very good salary and also have time with my family? So both are contrasting. So so any guess what can solve the problem? So I think that is something I'll take up in the next book club. So thanks for the opportunity, Karthik.
Thank you so much, Arun, for the wonderful sharing. As you said, want to get more salary also and want to spend more time with family also. It's very contradicting, right? So I never understood until I was like around at least 8-9 years experienced. Yeah, again, we are waiting to listen to your continuation for the next book club. So I think if somebody is ready, you can raise the hand. I will share Saurabh's video. I think he has prepared a very nice topic.
Hello and a very good evening to you all. My name is Saurabh Sharma, and today I would like to share my views on Mastermind Alliance from this book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. So, the mastermind principle, it consists of an alliance of two or more minds who are working in a perfect harmony for attainment of a common definite objective. Success doesn't come without cooperation of others, and the mastermind, it is perhaps the most important principle to success. In a very simple term, it is a combination of experience and brain power that has a serious economic and psychic advantage. For instance, when you are surrounded by like-minded people who are always striving for success and better result, what will happen? You will start getting better result, and success will start following you. And on a vice versa, if you follow the people who are very lazy and who are very negative, you can easily know what the results would be. So, the mastermind group is a group of like minded people who meet regularly to push themselves towards their goal and hold each other accountable. There are numerous examples of this, like Andrew Carnegie, Henry Ford, Mahatma Gandhi, they are Thomas Edison. They all have a good mastermind alliance. So one cannot be successful without the help of the others. And there's a very good example that has been quoted about comparing humans to a battery. So consider yourself as a single battery who is trying to power a flashlight. So what will happen? There will be light, but it would be not much. But if you are linking with two, three, four batteries, means two or three or four like-minded peoples together, the illumination will become enormous. So joining two or more people in a spirit of complete cooperation with intention of achieving a specific vision is possible with Mastermind Alliance. And in the end, I would like to quote, power is required to achieve success. You acquire that power from a group of people who have come together for the realization of a definite purpose, a harmonious Mastermind Alliance. That's all I would like to share. Thank you.
Yeah. So I think that was a very interesting video on MMA. So I had never heard of Mastermind Alliance before, but yeah, like after going through this book, and I started observing in corporates, wherever you go, we have that Mastermind Alliance, right? So people working for a common goal. So I'm very thankful for Kiran. We have a Mastermind Alliance like every week.
Yeah. So my topic today is from book Talent is Never Enough by John C. Maxwell. And topic is like your passion energize you. So, I mean, as John C. Maxwell says, talent is the good to entry to anywhere, okay? But it is not enough to keep successful and reach the top. So, so many average people reach to the top compared to the talented people. They could reach to the top, but talented people could not reach because they didn't have the passion. So John C. Maxwell says, if you have the passion people never lack with energy, and they never think about failure. They never think about what will happen. They never think about what other will say. So one of the study happened on 1,500 people, and 83 people were interested for the average life. They first they wanted for the money, interested on money, and after that their dream. 17% people were interested on their dream, and money is after that. And after 20 years, research done, so they found 101 people become the millionaire from the people from the 17% group, and 83 people were just like average because they had the passion. So John C. Maxwell says 3-4 benefit of the passion. First thing is like passion empowered you. I mean, it will give the energy. It will you won't feel down. It doesn't matter you fail or pass success. You come again and you fight with your heart. Second thing is like passion gives you willpower. So many times when we fail, we'll face a tough situation, we'll stop ourselves. But passionate people, they try hard. Just like the example of Thomas Alva Edison, he failed 10,000 times, but he never stopped because he had the passion. Fourth thing is like he says, Passion produces the energy, which I already told. Passion is the foundation of the success. If you have the passion, then will become the success. Without passion, no matter what you have, how much talent you have. And fourth thing, passion is the key to success. So everything start from the passion. Talent is one thing, but if you are really passionate to search, find your passion. Most of the people, most of us, we are not following our passion. We're just doing whatever which is required. We are not doing whatever is what we want actually. What is our desire? So everyone possesses the passion, but problem is the finding your passion. So find your mentor who will help to find your passion. Like Kiran and Vijay sir really helped me to find my passion and work towards on that. No matter what, from which background I'm coming, what is my degree, what is my qualification, but just follow your passion. And so thank you very much for listening me. Hope it is added value for you.
It was Bhushan, really value. It was a good value add. So this is again another new concept because a lot of us rely on talent, but yeah, like passion plays a main game. Thank you so much, Bhushan, for covering very passionately, in fact.
Hi everyone, good evening everyone. Hope everyone are doing good. Today's my topic name is financial freedom. I just want to share one small talk in this. There is one small village. In the small village, there are like two people are there. So both the people are very hardworking people, and they're working for the daily wage. So they're getting some amount of money they're getting by the end of the day. So their job was to bring the water from nearby the pond to some destination place. For that, they can able to pay some money by the end of the day. So the days are keep on continuing. So that one day, one of the person has just asked the second person, so can we just arrange some kind of pipeline from the pond to the nearby the destination? The other guy just replied that, why do we need to take all the risk? Because we are getting that every day, we are getting some amount we are getting every day. So why our life is going very smoothly. Why you want to take all the risk and everything? Even somehow that other person is not much convinced that somehow he left the job because he's not getting any such kind of money. The days are become very harder. And he's trying to make all the pipeline from the nearby pond to the destination. In this time, the other person is enjoying very good because he's getting the everyday money he's getting. He's having a lot of fun with the family and enjoying like anything. But the other person is working very hard. Previously, he used to work 8 hours. Now he's working the 12 hours and 13 hours. He's working on to arrange some pipeline from the nearby the pond to the destination place. Now other person is just saying that why you are doing all this hard work, you're just wasting your time, and some all kind of bakwas kind of words he's just saying to the same person. But somehow the person is not convinced. Somehow he just continues the same work. Somehow after some good amount of time and after having a lot of hard work, somehow he made the pipeline from all the pond to here. Now this position, now he's not working anymore. Somehow all the water he's completely automated all the process. He's taking all the water from the nearby pond to the destination and he's getting the money. Now in the same time, the other person got some health related issue and some kind of some different problem. Now this guy is suffering from the lot of health related issue and different other circumstances. But the other person see the smartly, he's just did all the automation to bring the water, and he just made the income as an automation. Now this is how we can call it as a smarter income. So this is how I just want to share a small story on the financial freedom. How do we can plan our future for the next generation? Yeah. Thanks for giving me this opportunity, Karthik.
Yeah, wonderful. Again, Sasi. So I think you are talking about the pipeline, right? Parable of the pipeline.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, that's another wonderful book. Very interesting concept again. We will know the usefulness of pipeline when we actually need it. So there is a quote, I think, dig the well before you're thirsty. Thank you again for sharing, Sasi.
Thank you. Yeah, so my topic is specialized knowledge from Think and Grow Rich. So this is the fourth principle or the fifth chapter of the book by Napoleon Hill. So in which he said that there is a two type of knowledge, that is one is general knowledge and the other is specialized knowledge. So there, it is a crux of specialized knowledge particularly. So it is, knowledge is not a power, it is only potential power, right? So knowledge becomes power when it is used and put into definite plan of action. So Napoleon Hill says that it's okay if you have the knowledge, but it is of no use if you are not applying it anywhere or are not using your knowledge to apply your the knowledge you have. Knowledge will not attract money unless it is organized and directed through plan of action. So definitely the systematic way of thinking process or the way of the application, how you apply or the learnings you get from different sources like your mentors, coach, webinars, seminars. So if you apply those things, then only it will attract money or make you wealthy. Knowledge is not related only to education, right? So talking about general knowledge, the one type of knowledge, no matter how great in quantity or variety it may be, is of but little use in the acquisition of money. So we all have general knowledge and a lot of information, but for become wealthier, we should have specialized knowledge. Knowledge in a particular direction or in-depth knowledge. Actually, the more clarity. So specialized knowledge will not attract money unless it is organized, as I said, or intelligently directed. You need not necessarily know all about your subject, but yeah, definitely must know how best to access it. Specialized knowledge and imagination can create successful business. So I would like to discuss an example of Henry Ford. So Henry Ford had its command all the specialized knowledge he needed to enable him to become one of the most accomplished people in the world. So he said, I don't want to clutter all the general knowledge from my own. I can learn from the experience or from the observations as well. So what my takeaway from this chapter is specific knowledge must be organized and set into action in order to generate wealth. So yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Nice sharing, Samiksha. I think you are also very creative in your presentations. When you talk about specialized knowledge, I remember Vijay's frequently takes this example of Shah Rukh Khan. I think Shah Rukh Khan does so many things in movies, so we get inspired by Shah Rukh Khan. But in real life, Shah Rukh Khan does only one thing, that is acting.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I have a very interesting topic for all of you, and I hope my voice is audible. So I was reading this amazing book, and I was listening to an amazing podcast of a successful entrepreneur, and he brought up a very interesting topic. So how many of you feel when we say someone is intelligent, we measure their intelligence using some parameters? Can you name any parameters which you are aware of? Anyone can write in the chat. What kind of parameters we use to measure intelligence? You can unmute and share as well.
Good fancy words, jargons when they speak.
Body language.
Body language. Parameter something like if anyone had heard about intelligent quotient, Suna?
Yeah, IQ.
IQ. Okay. Similarly, if there is a parameter to judge your emotional well-being,
EQ. Emotional.
EQ. Let me bring you another interesting quotient, which I don't know whether you've heard about it. It is called as adversity quotient. किसने सुना है इसका नाम? Adversity quotient. सब लोग शांत हैं. No one?
No.
Okay, cool. So let me give you what is adversity quotient is. Now, the challenge with life is that when you live your life will be full of adversity. And sometimes you have adversity which you can't escape. It is a forced adversity. What are the forced adversity which we all face? Is maybe someone passing away from our family, or maybe we are losing our job, we are struggling for survival, where even if you want to avoid it, we can't avoid it. So some of us use that forced adversity to either make them strong or make them weak. But you won't believe it, adversity quotient actually does not develop when you're forced to face an adversity, but rather when you choose a battle for your life, and face adversity every single day. What is adversity every single day for all of us? You don't have to think big thing. The adversity is that the moment you choose a goal for your life, a big goal or whatever goal you kept, are you able to overcome challenges of your life every single day? What are the challenges which you face? One challenge is that if you're in job, you face adversity challenge कि यार मेरा job कितना खतरनाक, मेरा juice पी लेता है, my job is taking out whole of my energy. What should I do, man? How will I speak in book club? How will I attend PIM, or how will I attend this? How will I play, my cricket? How will I play all these things? So whatever priorities you have, the moment this adversity comes, job adversity, most of us either we escape. What is escaping? We will tell ki nahi Kiran, I think I'm completely out. I don't have energy left. I can't speak. First failure. Second, okay, now let's say you have some family challenges. Now again, in family challenges also, if you don't plan it properly, if you don't judge what kind of challenges it is, again you will give up. You will give yourself excuse, no yaar Kiran, I am family ka challenge chal raha, I can't do this, I can't do that, I can do this, I can do that, I can do this, I can't do that, I can do this. This is where the key skill of adversity quotient comes. Now you decide what kind of adversity quotient you have, because some of us are good to overcome adversity only when we are forced to, but your resilience and your adversity quotient actually develops when you choose your battles and win every single day. Now your battle could be different, and maybe you have health challenges, your family challenges, maybe you want to grow yourself, you have to put effort on growing yourself every single day. You're finding challenge in prioritizing your time, you're finding challenges to solve very small minute problem in your life which looks a gigantic task, and the moment you chose to give up ki mere se nahi ho payega, you fail. But if I look back in my life, I'll tell you the reason I took this topic, because I used to feel why people give up. A small adversity come, why people give up. So if you see any sports, if you see any of the sports, the adversity is in the field. The player when he plays a battle, the player when he bats in the, let's say take Sachin or any other good player, the adversity for them is that they will look foolish, they will look so humiliated if they don't score runs. The moment Sachin didn't score runs in one of the World Cup, people were putting all those stones and all those stuff. And that is the adversity he created in mind, but he did not give up. So I used to play in my cricket. So my goal was to play for the college, and I want to represent it. And the biggest challenge, man, I'm not gifted. I don't know how will I grow to the next level. I don't know whether I'll be able to compete with brilliant performers. Kahan tak jaunga main? Till when will I go? Dusra thing, even after doing that, the adversity I faced is that the first match in my college when I played, I was good at batting, I was good at playing, but I was tremendously feeling embarrassed. I played 6 balls, no run and duck out. That's it. The moment I did that, I realized, what did I do, man? Since childhood, I'm playing cricket. Now, first match, I'm getting this opportunity. I was completely duck out. Now, then I realized that my brain started telling me, Kiran, I think but talk to myself. No, if I give up, then I feel, let me fight that battle. Small battle every single day, getting at 6 a.m. Getting up the first battle. Okay, check the battle. I feel good about myself. Now there. And college. Similarly, this series of battles, when you win, you actually increase your adversity quotient. So guys, the reason I covered this topic is
I was listening to one interesting podcast today. Okay, so he was talking about something called dreams, right? So especially when we grow up, right, when we are more experienced in life, the dreams actually will come down. So he was talking how actually these dreams can really impact, okay, your family. So when he actually listed his dreams initially, so he didn't believe much in that, it seems. Okay, so but as we read in the books, right, we need to list down those dreams, whatever dreams we want to achieve, right, short term, mid term, long term. We need to list those dreams. We need to take pictures of it, post it on your walls. Okay, otherwise if you have a dream book or a big dream books, you can post the pictures on those books. So many things, so many series are like successful principles which we read in this book, right? So when he also initially read it, he couldn't believe it, but since it's been told by like Napoleon Hill or Andrew Carnegie, he had to do it. and you don't believe it. Actually, after, I mean, a lot of action, hard work, so many stuff, right? It really came true. So what he was telling was, see, like if you think the company wherever you work for, if the CEO of the company or the owner of the company tells, okay, I'm satisfied now, okay, I don't have any further goals for me, okay, I don't have any further goals for this company, because he's satisfied, right? So what happens to the employment? What happens to the employees, right? Same thing, if our Prime Minister of India, if Modi tells, no man, India is all good, nothing else to do here, right? It's all satisfied. So what will happen to the growth of our country, right? So similarly, if we don't dream, if we are the captain of the ship of our families, and if we don't dream, if we don't increase our dreams, what will happen to the growth of our family, right? So that is the effect which dreams have. So that is the also a difference between growth mindset and the goal mindset, which I'll be talking more about the next week. So this small one liner, it really gave a big impact, because I was also thinking the same, like, okay, if we write down the dreams, will it really happen? So he was like, no, you come out of your traffic, you come out of your status meetings, you come out of your practical life, you come out of your logical mind, okay, and start thinking towards your dreams, like how you were thinking when you were in college. You didn't have any barriers, right? But if we want to write our dreams now, we will think, okay, what is my income, what is my expense, what is my hike which I'm going to get, as Arun was telling. So we get so many things, right? So like, yeah, like if we keep those barriers in our mind, I don't think we'll be able to dream enough. And if we don't dream enough, there'll be no growth to our family or the society. So this is what I wanted to share. Thank you so much. So is Kiran back?
Yeah, I am back.
Kiran, we missed the climax.
Okay, cool. So apologies for the inconvenience caused. Yeah, so what I was talking about, that adversity quotient. So if we don't work on our adversity quotient, the resilience and the strength of our character is at stake. The more you escape adversities, big or small, the weaker your personality becomes. And just to summarize the whole talk, I'll just give a very simple line, which is again from a very powerful book. With every adversity lies a seed of equal or better benefit. With every adversity lies a seed of equal or better benefit. I don't know how many people really understood this line. I have read this line 2 years back, 3 years back, but now when I see my life flashback, when I see what have I done, what kind of qualities I've inculcated in my life, I see this line is so powerful. At every moment of your life, every single day, if you are overcoming your adversity, big or small, your character, your resilience, your strength internally will become so high that even if you keep a big goal, I'll tell you the worst case scenario. You might say, Kiran, itna sab karke kya milega? If at all I forget, if at all I lose my goal, then what is the benefit? I become so strong. I fought every adversity. I brought out solutions. I did everything. I sacrificed so many things I did, but I didn't achieve my goal. The worst case scenario you will achieve is to become a great example for all of your generation. You'll become a super strong character and so resilient that who knows, while you are there, you have impacted so many other people's life without you knowing yourself as well. And that is a power. And the reason I took is because I'll tell you the last 1 year, what kind of success I've got. I have never realized it. And as we said, right, if with adversity, when you keep overcoming, you will get opportunities coming towards you. So what I did last 1 year, we were consistently doing book club. We were coming every single week, no matter whatever happened in life. And I'm sure many of you who are regular, or many of you have seen all of us like Vijay, everything, you have no idea what is happening in our lives because nobody can identify. And that is why we develop that habit. You will never know what is happening in our life. We will be there. And while being there consistently, what happened now, I'm getting, I think recently I got an opportunity just now, I think before in the book club, while I was here in Vizag. So I got a message from Narsi Monji Institute, I think college. And they suddenly pinged me, Kiran, can you come with us and speak in live so that we can better evaluate and help our time or prioritize in our life to become successful. Imagine 4 years back, I had a chance to do MBA and I had a dream कि मैं MBA नहीं करूँगा, मैं practically घिसूँगा, I'll go practically, I'll be on ground, I'll fail a lot and I'll come out of it. And I will learn 10 times higher what any of my friends of IIM or anyone can learn, and I will prove myself for my own success. And this is the first step. And this is what is every adversity is all about. You choose your battle. You have to choose your battle. It is not anyone's battle. And you fight your small battle and you feel empowered. And that is the power. And if anyone can take this small sentence and can implement adversity quotient, then the magic is yours and the life is yours. So thank you so much for listening. And I hope it added some value, and keep growing. Awesome.
So, hi everyone, Happy New Year. I have a topic which is known as procrastination, and I thought that this is something that I should focus on so that our new year and our entire year goes well. So, this is a very common thing, and most of us are victim to this evil. And we often delay our work and are not able to do it, not because we're lazy, but mainly because of two reasons. One is that we lack a lot of focus, and secondly, we are scared of failing at the tasks that we set out to do. So these are the two main reasons for procrastinating on anything. Like a lot of times I procrastinate in my job because I work in sales and I need to constantly keep following up with my customers. But every time I think I'm going to call the customer and I realize that the customer was not very interested in the beginning itself, I don't want to call him again because I'm scared to listen to him say no to me. So instead of listening to the no, I just keep procrastinating that follow up. And in the end, I just never know if the customer was interested or not. So this is what everyone just tends to do all the time. And that creates a lot of lag in the kind of work that we are trying to do. So how we can try to start bringing in focus and stop worrying about the failure? There are a few points that this book talks about. The first one is to exercise your mind. So if you are exercising your mind by constantly meditating, you are trying to focus all your attention towards the goal that you have set for the entire day. That will give you a lot of focus throughout. Second thing is to exercise your body also. So at least 30 minutes a day, if you are exercising, it will give you a lot of confidence as well as energy to carry out the tasks. Third is to try and have a daily routine with things you like to do. So there are some things that you probably like to do every day, like read a book or write down your thoughts or anything, read the news. So if you start your day with your daily routine, then it will be easier for you to focus on the tasks that you have actually set out. And fourth is to actually make a list of all the tasks. So if you are done with your routine tasks, then it will be easier for you to then get back into your um, bigger or smaller tasks, however it is. So this is basically how you can stop your focus from drifting away when you are working, because sometimes people do end up sitting in front of the laptop and they think that, okay, I'm going to complete this amount of work today, but then you get a call from your colleague or you get an email that you have to reply to from a client, and then you get distracted, so that focus is not there. So that is what you need to actually try to learn. And when it comes to procrastination, generally what you can also do is try to eliminate unwanted ideas or work. So a lot of people start focusing on good things, but they're actually not helping them in their life. So I try to read the news. Reading news is good, but I'm not actually doing the work I'm supposed to do. So try to eliminate these unwanted things which are not actually making you very productive in the end. And secondly, if you ever feel that you are in lack of any motivation or you're not able to focus on something, then what you can do is try to remember your past success or your past experiences where you were able to complete or achieve something. That will give you a lot of motivation again to reach out and complete that same activity. So hope these few tips help. Thank you so much.
Amazing, Mahima. As usual, I really, we all love your voice. The voice is so podcastic. So I always want you to speak more so that you can really echo your voice everywhere and people can really use leverage for their life. Amazingly covered. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great.
I just wanted to make a comment about something that Sahana and Charanjit shared today. I think Charanjit, yeah. And loads of time people have talked about this. So I do coaching in the field of emotional intelligence. And like Sahana mentioned, that when sharing good news will help with your digestion, or I think Charanjit was talking about how just to take a break, breathe right. I think the fast and slow thinking. just understanding a few simple concepts. So the way our brain is structured is, here is your brain stem, which is the spinal cord going to your brain. Then you have the cerebellum, or the bottom part of the brain is your reptilian brain in colloquial language. You have the amygdala here, and this is your cortical region, or the neocortex, which is the latest part of the brain. So this is the old brain, this is the new brain. This is the brain that is responsible for doing all your thinking. Thanks to evolution, what happens is our brain is programmed, or the way it has evolved is to keep us safe. And it's still the old brain that evolved millions of years ago. And back then, the stresses were seeing a saber-toothed tiger. You come out of your cave and all you see is probably a tiger staring right at you. And when that happens, this amygdala, which is your like an alarm system, it goes off, and your thinking brain, that's why we say you flip your lid. So when you flip your lid, you can't really be thinking. And when the amygdala goes off, so when there is a stress factor, back in the day it was a tiger, now it could be a boss yelling at you or your wife yelling at you. But when that stress happens, what happens is you go in flight or fight. When you go in fight or flight mode, main five functions in your body stop functioning, and that is because you just want to either run or fight. So the first thing that stops functioning is your thinking. You cannot think logically. So you're standing facing a saber-toothed tiger. You're not going to be thinking, right, there's a tree in front of me. I think if I make a run for it, I'll be able to get there fast. Or I should probably back off and go in my cave. Or no, I think I should pick up a spear and throw it at him. You don't think, you just do what your reflex does to you. You don't think. That's the reason why you don't think. Digestion stops, because to run you don't need digestion. Digestion takes up energy in your body, and your body is doing everything possible to conserve that energy. So that's why thinking stops, digestion stops, your immune system stops working temporarily, because again, building new cells is not needed. That's why people who are stressed tend to catch more colds or get stomach ulcers, things like that, right? Your hearing also changes the way you hear things. So you stop hearing human voices, and that is our brain's mechanism to stop distractions. You just want to focus on low frequency sound waves, such as a hustle in the bushes, because there might be a tiger there. And lastly, reproductive system. So these functions stop, and that's why being stressed will slow down your digestion, and you put on weight when you're stressed. When you are stressed, you cannot think, right? That's why when you take a breath, you tend to cool down, and that's the way to go about things. Because again, when you're stressed, you're running, your heart pumps, you're not going to stop to breathe, and because you're being chased. The only time you stop to breathe is because you know, okay, the tiger's gone now, and that's how you know your stress is gone. So breathing really brings your thinking back. That's about it. Thank you.
That's an expert talk by Nikita. I think now people, at least they have content why we say you should breathe while you're stressed.
Yeah.
I had a lot of, my clutter got cleared why you do breathe when you're stressed. Thank you so much, Nikita, for sharing this.
That's okay. You can Google for, I think Dr. Daniel Siegel has called it the hand-brain model. I can send a link, and it's amazing. It's a 2-minute video on YouTube, Dr. Daniel Siegel, the hand-brain model.
Please share the link, Nikita. I'll just forward
I will.
And we'll leave the stage right now for the summary. So who will take that up? I think if Prakash is there, Prakash can take it up. Or if anyone else want to take it.
So I will go for it. No one is. Okay, so today I joined in a bit late, but I'll start with whatever talks I listened today. So Girijaji talked about law of trade-off. So he talked about if you want to earn something, then you have to invest something. So you have to spend something. So that is one thing he explained. He explained the e-maths during this law of trade-off. Then Sahana talked about making attitude or allies. Okay, so she talked about how people speak without sound. She also talked about how to be having attitude of activated by digging into deeper than everything you do, just add a life to it and broadcast good news to have a good digestion. Then Charan talked about fast and slow thinking and he explained about what is the advantage of pausing down when you react to any situation. So convert that reaction into response by having some pause in between. That is what he talked about. Then Venkatesh talked about new discoveries from the what to say when you talk to yourself, and he explained a biocomputer. So how our biocomputer programmed by our relatives in our childhood, and how this programming can be changed if you decide. Then Uma talked about leadership. She shared one nice story about leadership. Was her boss was giving some point of contacts for her team, and she also explained that how leadership can be developed by not waiting for the opportunity but being ready for the opportunity. So she also talked about how to influence people, and she also shared a good phrase, that is, people don't care how much you know until you know how much you care for them. Then Arun Kumar talked he shared about the learnings from the first chapter of Rich Dad Poor Dad, and then Saurabh talked about Mastermind Alliance, and he explained about how it is very important to have a mastermind group. So you are because of what the group around you. If it is a mastermind good group, then it will be good. Otherwise, whatever you may be because of your group around you. Then Bhushan talked about the passion. So he shared 4 things, like passion empowers you, passion gives you a willpower, passion is the foundation of success, and have a good coach and mentor who can identify a good passion for you. So that is what he explained about. Then Sasi talked about the financial freedom by giving away, sharing a very good story about pipeline. And then Samiksha talked about specialized knowledge from Think and Grow Rich. And talk of the day, Kiran talked about the adversity quotient along with the what is intelligent quotient and emotional quotient. So I personally feel that we are developing our adversity quotient, because personally today I was very tired because of my office work, but it is because of the adversity quotient is developing in the background. So that is why I am able to join this book club today. Then Karthik talked about dreams. So he talked about listening down your dreams and write it down on the paper so that you start working on that dream. And dreaming is, he also shared that dreaming is very important for growth. And dreaming should be irrespective of what your status is currently. So that is what the important point he shared. Then Mahina talked about the procrastination. So she talked about 2 things, that is lack of focus and fear of failure. And she has also given a solution for this procrastination problem, that is exercise your mind, exercise your body, daily routine for some time, then prepare a to-do list before starting your day. And then Nikita talked about the brain functioning, where she talked about the brain reaction in case of a weird situation, like brain stops thinking, your digestion stops, your immune system stops, you stop hearing the normal sounds, and your reproductive system stops. So that's all from today's book club. Thank you very much.
Wow. So, लोगों के चेहरे में स्माइल आ जाता है जब प्रकाश बात करता है, तो लोग सबके दांत दिखते हैं, people are showing all the teeth they're having. So Prakash, you're doing a really wonderful job. I think you are the anchor